6 p.m. I would like to call to order the Norwood City School District Board of Education meeting. Today is Thursday, June 20th. The Norwood City School District Board of Education follows a bi-monthly meeting schedule. The first meeting of the month is called our committee meeting. At this meeting, we discuss fully our agenda for the board meeting to be held the third Thursday of each month. As board members, we encourage you to attend, watch, and listen to our committee discussion resulting in action at the board meetings. For full disclosure, our committee meetings and board meetings are always announced, video and audio taped, as well as posted to our webpage for your view. All of our meetings are public and visitors are welcome. Mrs. Camphouse, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Atwood.
Present.
Ms. Ballard.
Present.
Mrs. Rarica.
Present.
Mr. Taylor. Absent. And Mrs. Cole.
Present. If you would please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1.04 is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. Item 1.05, these are the minutes from our regular meeting held on May 16th. 1.06, Finance Committee meeting minutes from June 11th. 1.07, these are the minutes from the committee meeting, also on June 11th. 1.08, these are the minutes from the special meeting held June 11th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? 1.05 through 1.08.
I'll second.
I didn't say it yet. I'll move to approve the 1.004 to 1.08.
Any discussion? Are we good, Mrs. Campbell? Did she?
I have a first is Alice and a second is Amber. Is that correct?
Okay, are we
Thank
good?
you.
All right, any discussion?
I was waiting for her.
Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood.
Yes.
Ms. Ballard.
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica.
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, item 2 is our presentation section. We do not have a presentation this evening, so we will be moving on to item 3, which is personnel, superintendent recommendations, and I will turn it over to Superintendent Mrs. Ronan.
Thank you, Madam President. Under 3.01, it's the AFSCME 3136 and 3136A Master Agreement. The negotiations with both AFSCME unions were successfully concluded. It went very smoothly with both sides agreeing to some minor language changes and the removal of some old outdated language and a 3% cost of living increase. All of these changes are highlighted in yellow if you look at the document. Both AFSCME groups have ratified the tentative agreement, so we're asking the board to approve the contracts this evening at the board meeting. So that's what 3.01 is. 3.02, that is basically giving to provide the same cost of living increase to non-certified, exempt, and administrative employees who are outside of the AFSCME contract, which would be the staff in the treasurer's office, Terry and Kelly, and individuals like that that are not covered by AFSCME. So that's what 3.02 is. 3.03, we've had a number of employees who are leaving us for other positions. So we do want to thank them for the many years of service for in our district. So those are listed in 3.03. In 3.04, we have hired several individuals to replace those who have left. So welcome to our new employees. We got a Marcus Davis. He is going to be our new middle school teacher for English language learners. And today we actually ended up with Dave Farish. He is going to be our high school physics teacher. So welcome to both of those gentlemen. We also have a new student aide, Lydia Blunk. So welcome, Lydia. Then summer school, we're still doing some hiring in the next session because our elementary summer school is in July. We do typically have extended days for our counselors, school psychologists, etc. That is in the extended day section. Obviously, Mrs. Ferguson is still hiring some people for the summer blast. Then item 2, change in status. These are a number of current employees who are moving to different positions within the district, so therefore they're listed under a change of status. Item number 3, Stephanie Parker, that she went through in May, but we did not list that she is on step 5 and she's a part-time employee. Number 4, there's lots in number 4. As you can see, we are giving pupil activity contracts for the next school year already, and we've hired a multitude of coaches in that section. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve 3.01 through 3.04?
A motion.
Then I'll second.
Any discussion?
Madam President, if I may, I just want to thank the administration for the negotiations with the ASME unions. It's always good to have an uneventful negotiating cycle.
Indeed. You're very welcome. It went very, very smoothly.
And then I'd also like to thank all of the staff members that have offered resignations for their many years of service as well, and welcome all of the new hires, including many of the new faces for the pupil activity contracts to become part of our family.
Anything further? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, with that approved, we can move on to item 4 on the agenda. This is our Education Committee report, and I will turn it over to Mrs. Rarica.
Why, thank you, Madam President. First, we have an approval of all of our high school graduates, class of 2024. I believe there's 115. That's a great class. And next is student handbooks. Did we have, did you want to tell us anything that had changed? Or I know we got a new cell phone policy from the state.
That is the one big change. We did include some of the verbiage out of the policy that tonight is the first reading. We already put it in the handbook in hopes that when the policy approves, everything will be consistent.
Right, and it's handed down from the state, so it's not exactly like we can change it. Anything else about handbooks?
I don't think there was anything, nothing really changed. A few errors here and there, updates, if there's the name of a staff member that had changed, that kind of thing, and the years. So mostly it was those kinds of changes, except for the cell phone verbiage.
Next is our student athlete parent handbook. I do believe Mr. Gabbard told us a few changes, or Mr. Richardson told us about a few changes. Or Gabbard, I don't remember which one. And our crisis response plan. Did anything change there?
This is just this short, like Cliff Notes. You know, our emergency plans are 90 pages long, but this is a quick one. If you answer the phone and somebody's like calling it a bomb threat, you know what to do. Ask them, well, where's it located? When's it going to go off? You know, and based on their answers, you can tell the police you pretty much think it's a hoax because they hang up on you when you start asking questions. So it's just Cliff Notes, you know, what to do in the first 30 seconds if some kind of call came in or something happened that staff could quickly look at. We usually run it off on different color paper so it can sit on their desk. What to do in the 30 seconds if you're not quite sure what to do before someone comes to assist you.
Awesome. And next is professional development in June to approve. And then a field trip. The football team is going to Camp Higher Ground.
Do I have a motion to approve 4.01 through 4.06?
All motion?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camphouse?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, moving on, item 5, this is the Policy Committee report, and Mr. Atwood will be filling in for Mr. Taylor this evening.
Thank you, Madam President. We do have one item on the agenda that was previously mentioned in the last section, and this is a major amendment to policy JFCK, which is the use of electronic communications equipment by students. And so earlier this year, the state of Ohio, through House Bill 250, has completely revamped the, actually, it's a prohibition of cell phones in schools. That was part of that House bill. And so Governor DeWine signed it, and now that is Ohio Revised Code Section 3313.753. And so for that, we now have a mandated policy from the state so that we can govern the use of cell phones in our district. And that's what this policy is.
On your electronic version, the title is correct, but on the paper copy in front of us, the old one was use of electronic communications. We've inserted use of cell phones and electronic communications, and we put the word devices in instead of equipment. So I just want to be clear. It's correct online, but on your paper copy, it has the old title.
You are correct. So tonight, we're going to have the first reading of this policy. Next month, we'll have the second reading, so that way this policy will be fully implemented and adopted by the district before the first day of school. So with that, and with your permission, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we have the first reading for policy JFCK.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camp House?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, continuing on, item 6, this is Building and Grounds Committee, and I will turn it over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. We have 2 requests for usage this month. The first is from Christ Temple Baptist Church. They want to use the Williams Avenue Elementary parking lot for some extra parking on June 22nd and June 29th. The second request is from the Norwood Recreation Department to utilize the Norwood Middle School gym and the View Gym for their youth volleyball programs from August to October during the weekdays, with weekend games to be determined. That's all being worked out with our AD. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the 2 requests as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camp House?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, we are now at item 7 on the agenda. This is our Finance Committee report, and I will turn it over to our treasurer, Mrs. Camp House.
Thank you, Madam President. On the agenda, 7.01, a CFO report, financial reports, and change order listings are attached for your approval. 7.02, appropriation resolution, our final budget for the current year. 7.03, temporary appropriations, next year's budget, which will remain temporary until October. 7.04, certificate of estimated resources, that's the current year's estimated revenues for your approval. 7.05, transfers and advances, some transfers to other funds for your approval. 7.06, property liability vehicle insurance renewal. That's a renewal quote with Wright Specialty for your approval for next year. 7.07, Hamilton County ESC, our annual service contract with our high-quality ESC, again for next year. 7.08, special education agreements. There's one special education agreement for students being served for the IEP for next year. 7.09, an agreement with Perceptions Counseling, an agreement to serve students by crisis intervention, facilitate connections to mental health services, facilitate life skills groups, and provide therapy for our students, again, for next year. 7.10, fiscal year 25 grants. The federal grants of more than 1.5 million are listed for your approval. 7.11, an agreement with Klinger's Group to provide engineering services for the Williams and View beautification projects. And finally, 7.12, payment in lieu of transportation. This is our annual payment for students attending private schools in grades K through 8, it is mandated that we provide payment as the district, as the distance to transport is not practical. And that is everything for finance.
Do I have a motion to approve 7.01 through 7.12?
Madam President, I'll motion to approve 7.01 through 7.12.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Camp House?
Mr. Atwood,
Yes.
Ms. Ballard,
Yes.
Mrs. Rarica,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole.
Yes. All right, item 8 on the agenda is the hearing of the public. We do not have anybody here this evening. Item 9 are the reports. So 9.01, board announcements. Do any board members have anything to share?
There's a lot of fun things this summer. Go to them all. Go to the fireworks and Norwood Day.
Anything else? All right, 9.02, this is our superintendent's report. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Rowan.
Thank you very much. Tonight, I want to report on our student wellness and success state funding. We are required to let everyone know how we are spending our dollars. So you have to identify your needs, which obviously with physical and mental health needs, school safety, and also programming that serves students. So those are the big 3 areas that we service for our children. Just some of the things we have in our schools. Obviously, we have school counselors and a licensed social worker and psychologist in all of our buildings. We have health aides. We have a district nurse to provide for the physical needs, in addition to Centerpoint, the school-based health center. And also for safety, we have Officer Town, our school resource officer. Now, I don't want to imply that the state of Ohio is paying for all of this through their wellness funds. We're required to give the report. However, a lot of these things were already there, but it is nice to get some additional state funding. So with those dollars, we were able to partner with a number of groups in the community. As you can see, we have their logos listed there. So it's great to have partners with whom you can share the burden and come in and provide services. To give you some idea, Prevention First, they do a survey every few years, really to see what trends and what's happening with young people. They were the first ones to notice the uptick in vaping, that kind of thing. So they work in the prevention field to make sure that a number of our students engage in those activities. Then, obviously, we have 1 in 5, which is the mental health group that comes in and really wants to erase the stigma surrounding mental illness and promote optimal mental health. Talbert House, that has been a long-term partner. We've had those for a number of years. They do provide therapists at our elementary schools. And Perceptions we have picked up recently. They're another counseling service that we can use in the district. So basically, those are all the groups we partner with, and those are some of the ways we spend the monies that the state gives us. So thank you. That concludes my report. And we'll post that to meet the requirements, right?
That's right.
All righty. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ronan. 9.03, this is the Great Oaks report, and I will turn it over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. This week, our evaluations were due for our administrative team, for our superintendent and treasurer. Our final numbers also came in for the 23-24 school year, and we held a retention rate of 95.4% of our students to get them to graduation this year, with 100% graduation for this year. Our policy updates came in for health services, our unmanned aircraft, which is our drone program, and transportation were all updated for our policies. And we also updated our costs for food items. Our breakfast moved up to $1.30, lunch is at $3.50, and a la carte items range between $1 and $3 for students. Those who still qualify for special services and accommodations are still qualified, but those are our lunch prices as of this point. Our ACTE conference is coming up next month from July 15th to 17th. I'll be attending that. June 17th, this past weekend, we held our golf outing, which supports the Great Oaks Education Fund, which is a scholarship foundation that we offer.
Coming up on June 29th is also a silent auction. A lot of items are provided by students, like our welding shop. They build things, some furniture items, things like that, that come from our students and from around the campus. And all of that money goes to support our scholarship program. So I'm looking forward to letting you know how much money we get for that program next month. And of course, we have our student spotlight. Keviana English, one of our health technicians at Scarlet, received her medical assistant certificate. So she was featured in our spotlight for this month. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. 9.04, this is the Norwood Community Television update. Tyler says that they streamed the high school graduation last month, as well as the elementary promotion ceremonies. And he wants everybody to know there's a new version of graduation that has been posted online. They went in and added name graphics for all of our graduates and did some touch-ups. All right, 9.05, this is the OSBA Legislative Liaison, so I will turn it back to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, Madam President. First up was Senate Bill 208. It passed in the Senate at the end of May. It still has to work its way through the House. That's the one I had mentioned in the past that makes exceptions for military children to have access to open enrollment, regardless of school policy, which we already include that for our students, but it is coming to the state's attention. House Bill 112 is now going to require, it's coming to the Senate, will require that school buildings comply with all safety standards as it pertains to the protective doors, which again, we've already updated those systems. So we are ahead of the Senate and a lot of the bills that are coming forward that are happening right now. The House Bill 147 is one to keep an eye on. It is making changes regarding teacher licensure revocation and hiring practices. So it's just something to keep watch on. It's going to affect the policies for our hiring and firing practices in relation to teachers and disciplinary action. The other items that are on there currently, there is a federal legislation piece that has been introduced that is called let me see here, what was it exactly called? Student Voter Registration Empowerment Act, which would require public high schools to be designated as a voter registration agency under the National Voter Registration Act, and it will create grant fundings to help students conduct voter registration drives for students who are eligible to vote or will be eligible to vote in upcoming elections. And lastly, and most importantly, coming up on July 30th through August 8th, Governor DeWine announced that this year's 2024 sales tax holiday will take place on those dates. So that falls under House Bill 33. Under the budget items, he said they were shortening the proposed 14-day to 10-day. So we're watching that to see if it gets approved or not, if they're going to shorten it. But for now, they're suggesting a 10-day window between the 30th and the 8th. So plan those days for your shopping for back to school.
I thought it was only a weekend.
I thought it was only a couple
So
days.
this is,
Yeah.
Well, I think businesses might be advertising it as weekends to take advantage, but it's actually a 14-day period. Now, I don't know if certain stores are allowed to limit, like it has to take place during that period, but maybe they don't have to offer that for the entire period. I don't know how that part works for retail.
so when is it again?
Tuesday, July 30th through Thursday, August 8th are the proposed dates, a 10-day window for the tax holiday for clothes and school supplies. So we shall see.
I need to start planning on taking.
All right, 9.06, this is Avenues for Success. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Rare.
Thank you, Madam President. The school avenues are, I can't get my words out, but the summer program is just going swell. And also they do field trips for the older kids, and it's super exciting. And I saw them outside playing.
All right, item 10 on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have one item that's actually a kind of a request, but it's really short. We've had people interested in the construction happening over at Sharpsburg.
True.
And I know that we have updated our blueprints because our eyes were bigger than our wallets. So if it would be possible to update our website, maybe with the new plans, or to share with folks what's going to be coming into that space, that would be great. I know a lot of folks are excited about it, and I'd like to be able to share some of that. Maybe we can update it on our Facebook page or on our website and showcase what we're doing.
Good thinking.
I have the updated plans, but they're not the pretty ones with the green and everything. So I'll
the
have to
color
really
on
look
them?
and see what I can get out there, but I'll try to
Okay.
get something.
That would be great. Yeah, people are asking and they're excited about it, and they saw the construction. People are like, they're doing the streets. Like, no, this is separate. It's not the street thing. This is at
They
the school.
are next door, plus
But-
the church getting done. So at my house, it's extremely loud.
Very
I
busy.
bet there's a lot going on over there.
Yeah, it's very busy over there.
That was
sit
all
on
I
the
had.
porch
I just
every
wanted to make sure that was out there to share those updates and positive things that we're doing for the district. Make sure we're bragging on ourselves. We're doing a lot of hard work. It deserves to shine.
Anything else? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:26. Thank you.
Thank you.